Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to pull apart a political speech piece by piece. We're not just looking at the words, but at how the entire argument is constructed to see how a broad policy eventually zeroes in on a single person. Okay, so to really get how this all fits together, we've broken it down into 4 key parts. We'll start with a big policy on refugees, then see how the conversation pivots to Somali pirates, then it pulls back to describe Somalia itself, and finally, it all lands on a critique of Representative Ilhan Omar. Let's dive in. All right, so right out of the gate, the speech kicks off with this huge policy announcement. This is the first move, the one that really sets the stage for everything that follows, and it's all about refugee admissions into the U.S. And this isn't presented as a small change. The policy is laid out as being totally absolute, a complete stop. It's framed as a closed door, with no exceptions mentioned at all. And this is where we see the first big pivot. This massive, all-encompassing policy is immediately narrowed down to focus on just one country. Somalia gets singled out, and the reason given isn't based on data or some specific event, but on this very powerful, emotionally charged label, a terrible, terrible place. All right, let's keep going. Now the focus zooms in from the entire country to a much more specific threat that's being highlighted: Somali pirates. So what are these claims? Well, the speech doesn't just throw the word pirates out there. It gets into some really specific details about what they do and how they supposedly operate. Let's break that down. Okay, claim number 1 is, well, it's a big one. It's this sweeping statement that piracy is basically the only thing they have any skill in. That's a powerful rhetorical move, right? It kind of dismisses any other possibility. So to back this up, the speaker paints this picture of how these operations work. The idea presented is that they go after these huge, valuable ships, oil tankers, and that these ships are basically sitting ducks because of insurance rules and regulations against having guns on board. So if that's the problem, what's the solution offered in the speech? It's a strategy that's directly compared to the war on drugs, suggesting that pirates should be handled with the same kind of force. And this is a really crucial part of the story being told here. The result, according to the speaker, wasn't just a partial success. It was a total 100% victory. The claim is that piracy didn't just go down, it just stopped completely, seemingly overnight. Okay, so after zeroing in on pirates, the lens pulls back out again. We're moving from that one specific issue to a much broader characterization of Somalia as a nation. This quote really gets to the heart of it. It's not just a critique of the government or the economy. It's a fundamental challenge to Somalia's very existence as a country. So how is that claim supported? Well, the speech basically deconstructs the idea of Somalia as a fractional state, saying it's missing all the key pieces. No government, no police, no military, and then it's all summed up with the word anything. So, once the institutions are described as non-existent, the focus turns to the people themselves, and they're painted with a really broad brush, described as being defined by just 2 activities: fighting each other and piracy. And then, to kind of put a bow on this whole characterization, the speech uses these 2 final, very potent labels to summarize the view of the nation: really corrupt and a backward country. All right, we're at the final section. This is where we're going to see how all these descriptions of a country, of pirates, get funneled down and aimed at one specific political figure. And here it is. This is the moment where the whole argument connects. All that negative framing of Somalia that we just walked through, it's now used to build a bridge directly to Representative Omar. The setup is really simple. It starts with a statement of fact, her country of origin. This becomes the anchor that connects her to everything that was just said about Somalia. And this right here, this is the final destination of the entire argument. The conclusion that's being presented is that her background, her origin, is directly linked to her legitimacy as a political voice here in the U.S. So that brings our breakdown to a close. We've traced the path of this argument from a broad policy to a specific country and finally all the way down to an individual. And it leaves us with a really interesting question to think about. How exactly does the way a person's origin is portrayed get used as a tool in political arguments?